Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're looking at the Wild West train from the Bricklink Designer Program Series 4. This set, along with the others from Series 4, were available for pre-order back in February of 2025. This is the only one that I got from Series 4, and it just arrived as of June 27th, 2025, which was actually a little sooner than I expected, which was quite nice. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get right into it. This is set number 910044, comes with 3,192 pieces, and I love the box art. I mean, I know they're pretty simple, but it does look pretty cool with the white background. It just really shows off the set really well. And plus, for the Series 4 sets, you get this 25-year anniversary logo of the Bricklink website, which is pretty neat. So a nice little extra added detail there. We'll go ahead and just move on to the sides. It's got that same black brick design as the others from the Bricklink Designer program. The back is just more of a close-up shot of kind of more of like an action shot of the minifigures all posed up on the locomotive and, you know, causing havoc and whatnot. And then when we're on the other side, it's got that same black brick design. And then on the top of the box, you just got your typical minifig scale. And then you got a logo for the Bricklink Designer program with Series 4 being specified there. On the bottom, not too much is going on, but you do have this little logo here, which tells you that if you download the Lego Builder app, you can use digital instructions via 3D and stuff, all that. I don't really use it. It's kind of a cool feature. That way you can like spin the build around and do whatever with it, but I just prefer to use the PDF instructions that they have available on the Bricklink website. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get into unboxing this. So this set was part of the Series 4 of the Bricklink Designer program, and it's pretty similar to Lego Ideas. You know, it's all official Lego still, which is pretty cool because they were bought out by Lego a little while ago. But we're Lego Ideas, you need to get 10,000 supporters, and then the sets will go through a review process in order to possibly become a real set. The Bricklink Designer program sets go through a voting stage instead, where people online will go on and vote for which sets they really like, which sets they just kind of like and they feel okay about, and then versus sets that they don't really like. So the Bricklink design teams and stuff, they will take those votes into account, and then they will select the sets from there. Each series has a total of 5 sets and a total amount of 30,000 sets produced per each one of those 5 sets. So yeah, but right out of the box, we get quite a few things here. We get a designer card that has just a little thank you note, and then on the back, it's got the QR codes and links for the instructions. And then next up, we get a total of 8 pieces of track, which is really great. Definitely looking forward to having some extra track. That's always a plus. And then next, we just have the sticker sheet here. Mine came a little bit bent, which is, it's okay. I was able to actually just flatten it out with actually those track pieces there, and it seemed to work fine. And then next we move on to the unnumbered bags, which just have some of the bigger pieces like the horses, the bigger plates, the tubes, and whatnot. And then it looks like we get 3 of them here. Here's all the bags laid out. There's a total of 40 numbered bags in this set. And what's interesting is that there's actually only 1 bag per number, which I've never seen that done before in a Lego set, which is kind of interesting. So some of the bags were pretty small, only had a handful of pieces in them. And going back to the unnumbered bags, actually, I missed a couple in that earlier segment there. There was actually a total of 5 unnumbered bags, some of them with more of these tube pieces, and then, of course, some of the train buffers, which will, you know, be very important later for the locomotive and all the rolling stock. But yeah, so that's all the bags in this set, and let's go ahead and just get into the review. And here's the completed build. It looks absolutely fantastic. I was super looking forward to this set when I first saw it on the Bricklink Designer program. I knew I had to get it. You get 3 pieces of rolling stock, a nice detailed steam locomotive, 2 side builds, 12 minifigures, and 3 horses. So if we look at the minifigures and the horses here, you start out with this guy, and you build these 2 little horses here with some packs on them. The 3rd horse is put in this boxcar when you build it. And then the rest of the minifigures, this is the order that you build them from left to right. Each one has their own little accessory, at least most of them do. So you get plenty of stuff to accessorize your minifigures with, to display around the model, or use in other parts of your Western Lego layout. So with this set, you start out with building the base. Then you go on to the side build, starting with the windmill here, moving on to the water tower, and then you start building the train from back to front. So starting with the boxcar there, moving up to the locomotive. And for this review, we're going to go in the backwards order, so we'll actually be starting with the locomotive here. Here's a more of an up-close look at the locomotive itself. It looks really great still. It's definitely one of the main reasons why I got this set in general. Anytime I see a Lego train, I'm just like, I gotta have it, you know? But so this is a 460 locomotive, which means it's got the 4 wheels up on the front, 6 driving wheels, and no trailing wheels. I don't think this is based off of necessarily anything in particular. It looks pretty custom to me, but either way, I still think it looks great, and it's just nice to have another Lego steam locomotive, as they don't do that super often anymore. Now, the original submission does vary from the final product that we're looking at now, just a little bit. For example, the side rod design was changed up. The original connection point was up here on the front and not the middle. I don't think that's a huge deal. And then also the tender was a little bit different, mainly keeping motorization in mind. The coal load did not come above the top of the tender here. It was actually sat just below. And then there was originally 8 wheels on the tender, not 6. This was just because of motorization. That was the main purpose, so we could have a running train. Now this was done by keeping the tender hollow. That's where you put your powered up battery box. And then the train motor, you just get your standard train motor, and that would be replaced. That would replace this rear bogie here. So that's how you would motorize it. I can show you guys more towards the end of the video it running around just a little bit. But that is why some of these modifications were made. Also, originally did not have the 44 on the locomotive or the tender. That's just a little reference to the set number, which is in the 910044. But now it's just for my thoughts on the locomotive itself. I do think it looks really great. We'll just start out here with just the locomotive really quick. There's plenty of detail to go around. You got all sorts of stuff on the top. You got the bell, the domes, the funnel. And then coming around to the interior, there is a little bit of detail in there. You got some gauges. You got where the firebox would be. Not too much going on, but you can put a minifig in there, as well as there's a couple tools there. You got a little lamp up here on the top. The other side is, virtually the same. Here's the front. It's pretty wide. I believe it measures out to be actually about 10 studs wide with everything that's got on the sides. Here's I'll show you guys more of a kind of top-down view, and then there's the front. So it is pretty wide, but when I was testing it out on my little sections of track, it seemed to be fine. It didn't really bump into anything, which was good. Now, the side rods do move actually really smoothly. I did have a little bit of issues with them kind of getting stuck. It was pretty rare. It was more so when it was going around the turns, which that can pretty easily be solved by swapping out one of these pins here, because these sides are not, here, let me get a little better angle. They're not connected. See, they move freely on their own, so that would be solved by just putting like a 6-stud wide Technic axle that goes through at least the middle here, and then that would connect both sides. And when you're doing that, make sure you quarter the wheels as well to help prevent that kind of stuttering. So that means just say put one up here and the other one 90 degrees apart on the other side. That'll help prevent that, as well as putting rubber bands on the wheels. I don't know if Lego sells that as its own separate part still, but some of the older Lego trains, like the Emerald Knight and the Toy Story 3 train, came with those. But I did have to make a little bit of modification on my own in order to get this train to go around corners, because at first the front bogie didn't turn enough. And I made sure I was following the instructions, and it wouldn't turn enough going around the corners. But I've already made a little modification. Basically, what you have to do is you have to flip it around, move the couple of little pins around, and then take out 2 of these guys here. 2 of these round 2x2 plates. and then it does go a lot better now. Around the turns, actually, I don't think it has any issues at all. So yeah, that's that. So there are a couple little nitpicks, but like I wish this wasn't an issue out of the box, but that's fine. Now if we move on to the tender itself, it's got definitely pretty good size, bigger than most of the Lego train tenders, because they're usually pretty small. There's not much to them usually. So this is a nice change. I will say though, I do also have a couple little nitpicks about this as well. Since this is supposed to be a Western train, this should not be coal, it should be wood. Once again, that's just like a little nitpick. I don't think it takes away from the model or the set at all too much for me. But one thing that does affect functionality, once again, is this front bogie. So here's the way it's set up. You got like a round plate here, and then the front bogie is attached by a 2x2 plate with this kind of round attachment point. Now when you do that, it will often kind of just, here, I'll just show you in a second here. You put this back on, and then when you attach it, like so, if I can get this on, like that. So you put it on the track, right? Now, obviously the rear wheels are locked, but this will turn, it can turn any which way and, possibly derail itself, which is kind of an issue, especially when pushing weight. It won't have that much of an issue going on the straights, but as soon as you try to hit a turn, it will start to kind of get a little messy and then just increase chances for derailment. This can easily be solved though by taking this, replacing this top 2x2 plate, and just take one of those 2x2 round tiles that you got off of your cylinders, so that way it'll keep this fixed and it won't have any issues going around the corners. I tested it out a little bit and it's works much better. Oop. And that's another thing too, is that those new plates are kind of a little tricky to get on. They use those on the Orient Express as well, but it works fine when the bogies have 4 wheels on them instead of just 2. But so that is the locomotive. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the rolling stock. Here's the first piece of rolling stock. There's not much to it. Actually, it was, and it might kind of look like an afterthought because it was an afterthought. This was not in the original submission for the build. This was because Lego, the way they do their tracks, their train tracks, is they pack them in sets of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the original model, it only had the passenger car and the boxcar as well as the locomotive, and it only used 7 pieces of track. But since Lego only packs them in, like I said, sets of 4, it left a little bit of extra space on either end of the model. So they either were just going to leave that extra space or just add an extra car. And I will say it is a nice addition, nice little extra freight car. You got a piano, you got a safe, which does open up. If I can take some of these pieces off, I can show you. This door should open up, yeah, here we go. So it does open up to reveal some cash and a gold bar inside. So it's nice, just a little bit of extra parts you get with the set, and you get an extra train car to put with your other locomotives. I think some people weren't super happy about this because it just increased the parts, which then increased the price. But I think it's fine. I didn't mind spending, I guess, a little bit of extra money for a little bit more train. So, but that's about it for this car. Next up is a absolutely beautiful passenger car. I love the old West aesthetic and theming. One of my favorite movies is Back to the Future Part 3, and of course with me I have the old Lego Cuusoo's now, Lego Ideas DeLorean, but I just love the design of these Western carriages, so I might be a little biased, but I do think, even not looking at it from that standpoint, I think it does look really good on its own. It's got a good amount of weight to it too. It's got the 4 wheels on each bogie, and does have plenty of articulation, so you don't need to worry about it not going around on turns. The doors, it's got a door on the front and the back. They both open, although not very much because of this railing. So I mean, if you're looking for realism and functionality for like your minifigures, maybe that's not something, or maybe that's something that might bug you. But I mean, realistically, it's going to be closed all the time, you know. Unless you have it up display with your minifigures. At least for me, it's going to be closed all the time. I'm just going to be using it, you know, run around my track layout and stuff. The top does come off here to reveal the interior. This is the roof. And you got lamps on either side. But here's the interior. You got plenty of seating in there. Some little desks or tables with lamp pieces. And what's cool too is you get to build this little luggage rack, which is, I think that's a pretty cool little addition in there. So it's definitely a nice little carriage, and it's got, yeah, I like the colors. I love the red. And then when you put this back on, you just kind of got to line up these parts here onto those. I don't know what these parts are called exactly, but you just line them up and they just sit in there. They don't lock in, but they sit in there and it sits just fine, and it looks really great and rolls just as great too. Even though I know some people aren't a fan of the plastic axles, I do wish Lego would just keep using the metal axles as well. But realistically, I mean, the plastic ones are fine. Maybe for a heavier train, I would wish they used the metal ones, but I'm not collecting enough Lego train cars or you know, making my own mocks to be worried about having a super heavy consist necessarily. But I do see the issue with that for some Lego builders and such. But I think it works just fine as is. And lastly here we have the boxcar. Now, this is the first part of the train that you build when you're building the actual set, but like I said, we're going backwards, so now we're back here. And it looks really cool. The wood paneling is done really well. Come around to the front here, or the back, we got a ladder, same thing on the other side, right here. And this is the side without the door, you just got some more of that wood paneling. These pieces kind of just do move a little bit, but it's not a problem. But it looks really cool, and like just the sheer size of it too is incredible. And here we're back at the other side. Now it's got the sliding door which opens all the way to help reveal the interior, and it slides just fine. It's just like it's all brick built, and it does great. So now if you take off the roof, you can already see that's where the other horse is. And here's a better look at the interior. We got some hay over here on this little stand for the horse to eat, and then there's some on the ground. There's also some cargo and other freight and tools on this side. But yeah, they were able to pack a good amount of detail inside of this for even just like a boxcar. But yeah, once I finished building this, I was super stoked for the rest of the train build. But yeah, so that is the boxcar. Now here are the two side builds that are included in this set. You get a windmill and a water tower. I think these are great little accessories to have. They are a little bit tedious. They're definitely the most tedious part of the build to put together. I'd say probably the more difficult. They're very technical. I think, let's see, we'll start with the windmill here. The hardest part for me was just getting all of these little pieces here, because some of these you have to click into each other by snapping them together like this. When you bring these two bars together, you have to push them in, and then they have to snap at least a couple of these together, like the bottom ones, and I think actually that's it, is the bottom ones. The other ones you can just kind of pose whichever way you want. The windmill, the top of it, it spins pretty fine, and it keeps its shape well. I think you can replace this pin in here with one that spins a little bit more freely, but if you do that, then each section here will kind of fall apart more easily. You can see that they move a little bit, but I think it spins fine, and you know, it's gonna be stationary most of the time anyways, so it's not like it's a big deal. But it does spin all the way around, so you can position it any way you want. There's plenty of detail on the bottom, just some dried shrubs, some bushes. Actually, you get a little water pump here for your horses and a little water trough, so that's pretty cool. And then if we move to the water tower, the interior of the water tower up here, this part was pretty technical. I'll show a couple pictures and some videos of the inside of it. But yeah, it's pretty, there's a lot to it, but it does, once all put together, it does look really good. So I would say, I mean, I think it's kind of worth it. It does make it a little bit harder, yeah, but it does look really cool. Base here, it's kind of same thing with the water tower base. It was pretty technical to put together, especially mainly with these, kind of lining all these up because these pieces kind of crisscross into each other and go through each other. So you just kind of got to make sure you line those up right just to get the shape down. And especially with this middle part here, it helps with the structure. So just putting all that together is a little bit, can be a little challenging. But like I said, the finished product does look really good. You get a ladder over here, you get like a dried up skeleton head here, which is kind of cool. Snake, some miscellaneous boxes on the bottom there, a little cactus, and just some other dried shrubs and scenery there. So I think these two accessories are great for a Western layout and town, so I am definitely glad that this set included them. And finally, here is the base next to the two side builds that come with the set. The base, I mean, it's super simple, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that. This is the first thing that you build in the whole set, and I mean, it does a great job at just being what it is. It is simply a base to display the train on. It doesn't use that many pieces, and it uses real Lego track. So you can just easily hook it up to any existing track layout you have, whether you decide to leave it on these two plates here, or if you decide to take the track off. It's honestly up to you, personal preference, but this is so much better than what Lego does with their other kind of more 18 plus trains like the Orient Express and the Crocodile Locomotive, because those just use rail pieces. They don't actually use track, so you can't, I mean, it makes a cool display, sure, but you can't actually connect it to any existing track that you have. This is the way to do it. If you're going to make a display stand for a Lego train, this is the way you got to do it. And what's even better about this, unlike the ones that Lego makes in their regular sets, is that it's modular. It comes apart so easily, and you don't have to worry about like taking off like a bunch of weird pieces and storing them to make sure they go somewhere. It comes all apart greatly in 4 sections because there's 8 pieces of track included. So you get a good amount of track too to incorporate into your layout. That's what it all looks like. So it makes it super easy, say like, you know, if you're moving, you know, you need an easier way to store it, or if you're taking it apart, just simply moving the display into a different part, say of your Lego room or just wherever you store it. So that way, you know, you don't got to worry about pieces breaking off and losing stuff as easily. So yeah, that is the base. Now this set is super easy to motorize. All you need is a powered up train motor and a powered up hub. I would also recommend getting a powered up controller just so you would have something a little easier to control it with rather than just the app you can download on your phone. This is my preferred way of doing it. But it's pretty simple. You don't even need the locomotive because all of it's in the tender. All you got to do is take out the coal load on the top, take out the 4 little pillars on the inside. And once you do that, you got to take off the rear bogie. And then when you're doing that, make sure you get this coupling off because you will need it for later. I'll set this here for now. But once you're in there, take the wire, feed it through the hole on the bottom there, and just go ahead and pull it through. Let's go ahead and attach this coupling on the motor like that. Once you got it pulled through, just got to attach it into the center stud here on the red plate. And you got that on there. The next part's a little bit more tricky. You just got to put the battery box in there. Sliding it in isn't the worst part. It's not the hard part. What the hard part I would say is just kind of getting all of the wire in there. It's a little tricky because it's a pretty tight fit, but just kind of push it off to one side as best you can, and then just kind of fit it snug in there. Should just go in like that. Looks like it's all flush. Actually, it's kind of popping up a little bit. Might have to do some off-camera rearranging, but once you got that dialed in, take off the front bogie, or if that issue I told you guys about earlier, then take off these bricks, which you'll need to separate. Put on one of these leftover 2x2 tiles you have from your cylinders, and then go ahead and put this back on. So it looks like this piece accidentally fell off when I was taking it apart, but no biggie. And then just snap it back on right in the center of that. Now that's fixed, and it'll go around turns much easier when you're pushing the locomotive. Bring this back, take your coal load, and just put it right back on top. But we need to turn it on. So to do that, pretty simple, you know, you just gotta hold these at the same time and they will eventually sync up. See, they're flashing, they're searching for each other, and now they're good to go. So let's go ahead and just get this lined up back on the track. Get the coal load on top, it's all connected. And let's go ahead and give it a little run back and forth on the display stand. And it rolls great. The Ciderons actually aren't jamming, which is wonderful. So I'll go ahead and set it up on a little layout because I'm not going to set it up on my main layout. It's a little disconnected right now because I'm planning some things of placing down some grass mats. But for now, let's go ahead and set it up on a couple of the other layouts in my room and get some action shots of it going around the tracks. And here's a set with all the minifigures displayed across it, including the general store from the Bricklink Designer Program Series 1. And there's the carriage that came with that. I also had to include the DeLorean in its Back to the Future 3 setup. So yeah, no, this is a great display. The general store and the Wild West train definitely go great together. I mean, they're made by the same designer, so it only makes sense, but even still, it's nice to see some Western sets in the modern Lego era. I love the Western aesthetic, just the style of the buildings and obviously the trains and stuff. It's just, I don't know, I've always liked it. And yeah, that's what that looks like all together. And for you Back to the Future fans out there, here's a way to display it with the DeLorean from back in the day. We got Marty here holding the hoverboard, and then Doc's on the side of the train getting ready to save Clara. And there's no official Clara minifigure, but just using some different minifigure parts, I was just kind of able to make a somewhat little custom one there. And then there, of course, the windmill signifying them passing the point of no return. And yeah, no, it looks pretty cool set up with the DeLorean. Of course, got some flames coming out of the funnel there. And yeah, I just figured I'd show you guys this because this is a cool another way to display it too. In case you're wondering, here is just the little thank you card again, but then all of the extra pieces that you get within this set. This is what it's going to look like roughly about once you're completed. And then also too, I forgot to mention, with two of the horses, you get the ones that have the packs. You also get these, you can build these little stand-ins to put in case you want to take the packs off. And then here's those 4 pieces from the little cylinders on each side that you'll need to take off in order to maneuver it easier around turns. Before I wrap up this video here, I do just want to give my quick final thoughts on this set. I do love this set a lot, and I think it absolutely lived up to the hype for me. It looks great. and I love that it comes with an extra train car that didn't originally come with. I like the 2 side builds. 12 minifigures is definitely amazing, and just the design of the set in general too, like just the Western look of the train, the carriages. I love. This is definitely one of my favorite passenger cars now that I have for Lego. And even the box car too in the back here, definitely going to be one of my favorite freight cars. They're just so detailed, you know, it's not stuff you will generally see in Lego form, except through these kind of programs like the Bricklink Designer program, especially through this, where designers have much more freedom than, you know, typical Lego ideas sets even, and just regular Lego sets in general. Now, just really quick, I do want to mention those little negatives I had from before. So regarding the front cylinder bogey and the bogey setup here, actually in the rebrickable instructions that I mentioned earlier, I took a look at those, and the designer did mention these in those instructions on how you're actually supposed to flip them around essentially. He did say they were included in the original instructions. I looked through those again, thinking maybe I missed them, and they weren't there. So that is a little bit misleading. Not the biggest deal in the world. I understand like mistakes happen and stuff, but I did just want to throw that out there for you guys, if you are looking into, you know, especially motorizing this set, because actually kind of like some of the ways that Lego does some of their steam trains, more specifically the last couple Hogwarts Express sets, they design them to where you can either have the front bogies locked as like a display or just kind of sitting, or you can kind of change it a little bit to have it go around tracks and turns easier and stuff. So do wish this kind of was including the original instructions like it was stated in the rebrickable ones, but it's not a huge nitpick. I mean, it's pretty simple to figure out, to fix on your own even. But actually for the front bogey on the Tender, this was included, because this is strictly just something for motorization. I mean, I guess I could say the same thing for the front bogies as well. That's strictly just if you're going to motorize it. But the front bogey here, it actually tells you to use one of the pieces from the cylinder and put that where that one white 2x2 plate was that like I showed you guys earlier. So that was pretty cool to see, and I'm definitely excited to have this running around my layout once I get it all finished and set up. So yeah, no, I do think the set is really great. I mean, the price tag was $280 at crowdfunding. Now it's going to be more expensive through third-party methods, but I do think it's worth it. You get a lot for what you pay for. You know, you get a whole train with plenty of rolling stock, all the minifigures, and the 2 side builds, plus 8 pieces of track, which is, I think, super valuable. But yeah, anyways, that has been it on my review for the Bricklink Designer Program Wild West Train. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me what your favorite Lego train has been. I hope you guys have a great day. That's all for now.